My childless sister-in-law demanded I be her surrogate for free because family helps family, but when I said no, she convinced my husband to divorce me and take half my business. I never thought my own family would try to destroy my life over a baby, but here I was 28 years old, successfully running my own bakery and facing the most insane demand I'd ever heard. Sarah, you have to understand this from my perspective, my sister-in-law Rebecca said as she sat across from me in my kitchen, her perfectly manicured hands wrapped around a coffee mug I'd made for her last Christmas. Her voice carried that sweet manipulative tone she used when she wanted something but was pretending to be reasonable. My husband Michael sat beside her, nodding along like some kind of trained seal, while Rebecca's husband David looked uncomfortable but stayed quiet. At 35, Rebecca had been trying to conceive for 5 years with David, and multiple rounds of IVF treatments and fertility drugs had left them emotionally drained and financially stressed, but what they were asking of me was completely insane. You don't understand what it's like, Rebecca continued, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. Every month hoping and praying only to have my heart broken again. The doctors say my uterus can't carry a baby to term, but my eggs are fine. This is my only chance at biological motherhood, Sarah, and you're young and healthy and you've already proven you can carry a baby successfully. She was referring to my miscarriage 2 years ago, which had been devastating for Michael and me, but apparently Rebecca saw it as proof that I was fertile and therefore should be her personal incubator. Rebecca, I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I can't be your surrogate. It's too much to ask. Michael finally spoke up, and his words hit me like a slap. Come on, Sarah, it's not like we're asking you to give up your own baby. You'd just be helping my sister have hers. Think about how much this would mean to her and David. I stared at my husband of 4 years, trying to figure out when he'd lost his mind. Michael, this isn't like lending someone a cup of sugar. You're asking me to carry a baby for 9 months, go through pregnancy, labor, and delivery, and then hand over a child. That's huge, both physically and emotionally. Rebecca's tears started flowing harder. Sarah, please, I'm begging you. We can't afford another round of IVF or a professional surrogate. The insurance doesn't cover it, and we've already spent our savings. Your family, and family helps family. David finally spoke up, looking embarrassed. Rebecca, maybe we should think about this more. Sarah's right, it's a big ask. But Rebecca turned on him with fury. Don't you dare back down now, David. We talked about this. Sarah is our only option unless you want to stay childless forever. I felt sick watching this whole scene play out in my kitchen. Rebecca, I understand you're desperate, but what you're asking isn't fair. The health risks alone are significant, and then there's the emotional toll of carrying a baby and giving it up. But it wouldn't really be giving it up, Michael said, and I could tell Rebecca had been coaching him. You'd still be the aunt. You'd get to watch the baby grow up and be part of its life. That would make it harder, not easier, I said incredulously. Michael, how can you not see how messed up this whole idea is? Rebecca stood up suddenly, her tears stopping like someone had flipped a switch. Fine, Sarah, I can see you're too selfish to help family. I just hope you can live with yourself knowing you destroyed my only chance at motherhood. After they left, Michael and I had our first real fight in years. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't just help his sister, and I couldn't believe he thought it was reasonable to volunteer my body for 9 months without even asking me first. She's desperate, Sarah, he kept saying. And it's not like it would cost us anything. They'd pay for all the medical expenses. It would cost me everything, I shot back. My body, my health, my emotional well-being. And what about our own plans to try for a baby again soon? Michael went quiet at that. We'd been talking about trying to conceive again after taking time to heal from the miscarriage, but apparently he'd forgotten about our own family plans in his rush to help his sister. Over the next few weeks, Rebecca launched a full campaign to change my mind. She started showing up at my bakery during busy periods, making scenes about her infertility and how I was her only hope. She'd cry loudly about wanting to be a mother while my customers looked on uncomfortably. Sarah, sweetie, she said during one particularly dramatic performance. I know you understand loss. Remember how devastating your miscarriage was? Imagine feeling that loss every single month for 5 years. That's my life. Using my miscarriage as emotional manipulation was a new low even for Rebecca, but it worked on some level because I started doubting myself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe family really should help family no matter what. Rebecca also started bringing Michael's whole family into it. His mother Patricia called me crying about how Rebecca was like a daughter to her and how much she wanted grandchildren. His father Frank took a more direct approach, telling me I was being stubborn and unreasonable. Rebecca's not asking you to give up a kidney, he said during one uncomfortable family dinner. She's asking you to help her have a baby. It's a beautiful thing. It's not that simple, I tried to explain, but nobody wanted to hear it. The worst part was watching Michael get pulled deeper into their manipulation. He started reading articles about surrogacy and sending them to me, highlighting parts about how rewarding it could be. He bought books about the beauty of helping other families and left them strategically around our house. Look, Sarah, he said one evening, showing me his laptop screen. This woman says being a surrogate was the most meaningful thing she ever did. She helped create a family. Michael, that woman chose to be a surrogate. She wasn't pressured into it by her husband's family. And she was probably compensated fairly for it. Rebecca said they'd pay you something, Michael said defensively. How much? I asked, curious about what they thought my body and 9 months of my life were worth. Michael shifted uncomfortably. Well, they're pretty broke from all the fertility treatments. But they mentioned maybe a few $1,000s. I laughed bitterly. Professional surrogates get $30,000 to $50,000, Michael. Your sister thinks I should do it for a few thousand because we're family? That's when I realized this wasn't really about family helping family. This was about Rebecca finding the cheapest possible way to get a baby and manipulating everyone into thinking I owed her my body because we shared a last name through marriage. But Michael was too deep in the fog to see it. Money shouldn't matter when it comes to family, he said. Besides, think about how happy this would make Rebecca and David. And my parents. Everyone would be so grateful. What about making me happy? I asked. What about respecting my bodily autonomy and my right to say no? Michael looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. The man I'd married, who used to be my biggest supporter, had somehow become Rebecca's advocate instead of mine. Things came to a head when Rebecca showed up at my bakery with a folder full of medical information and what looked like a contract. I had my lawyer draw this up, she said, sliding papers across my counter while customers waited for their coffee and pastries. I glanced at the documents and felt my stomach drop. It was a surrogacy agreement that gave Rebecca and David complete control over my medical care during pregnancy, including what I could eat, where I could go, and what activities I could do. Rebecca, this is insane, I said quietly, trying not to make more of a scene. You want to control my entire life for 9 months. I want to protect my baby, she said firmly. These are standard provisions, Sarah. You'd have to follow a strict diet, no alcohol, no caffeine, limited travel, and regular check-ins with me about how you're feeling. Your baby? I said, the words hitting me like ice water. Rebecca, if I were to carry this baby, which I'm not saying I will, it would be growing inside my body. I'd be the one dealing with morning sickness and weight gain and all the physical effects. But genetically it would be mine and David's, she insisted. You'd just be the carrier. The casual way she reduced me to an incubator made my decision crystal clear. Rebecca, I'm not signing this, and I'm not being your surrogate. Please leave my bakery. Her mask dropped completely then, and I saw pure rage. You selfish witch, she hissed. You have everything: a successful business, a husband who loves you, and you can't spare 9 months to help someone who has nothing. I have nothing? I said incredulously. Rebecca, you have a husband who adores you, a beautiful home, a successful career, and parents who would do anything for you. You don't have nothing just because you don't have a baby. But she was already storming out, leaving the contract on my counter and my customers staring at me in shock. That night Michael came home acting strange. He was quiet during dinner and kept checking his phone, which wasn't like him. When I asked what was wrong, he said Rebecca had called him crying about our conversation at the bakery. She said you were cruel to her, he said. That you called her worthless for not having children. That's not what happened, Michael, and you know Rebecca twists things when she doesn't get her way. But I could see doubt in his eyes. Rebecca had gotten to him first with her version of events, and he was choosing to believe her over me. Over the next few days, Michael became increasingly cold and distant. He started working late, and when he was home, he barely spoke to me. When I tried to bring up what was happening between us, he'd just say he needed time to think. The truth came out when I came home early from the bakery one day and found Michael on the phone in our bedroom. I heard him saying, I know, Rebecca, you're right, she's being completely unreasonable about this whole thing. When he saw me standing in the doorway, he quickly hung up, but it was too late. I'd heard enough to know he'd been discussing our private marriage issues with his sister, who was probably loving every minute of the drama she'd created. How long have you been talking to Rebecca about our relationship? I asked. Michael looked guilty but tried to deflect. She's family, Sarah, she's concerned about us. She's concerned about getting what she wants, I corrected. And apparently you're helping her manipulate me into changing my mind. Nobody's manipulating anyone, Michael said, but he couldn't look me in the eyes. Rebecca just made some good points about family loyalty and sacrifice. What points exactly? Michael sat down heavily on our bed. She said that in a real marriage, spouses support each other's families. That if you really loved me, you'd want to help my sister. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. And what did you say to that? I said I'd talk to you again about reconsidering. Michael the first already said no. Multiple times. Why isn't that enough? He finally looked at me and I saw something I'd never seen before in his eyes: disappointment in me. Because Sarah, it's not just about you. This affects our whole family. I'm your family, I said desperately. I'm your wife. I should be your priority, not Rebecca's feelings. But Michael shook his head. You're being dramatic, Sarah. Nobody's asking you to choose between me and Rebecca. Actually, that's exactly what's happening, I said. And you've already chosen her. The final blow came 2 weeks later when I discovered Michael had been meeting with a divorce lawyer. I found the business card in his wallet when I was looking for our insurance information to take to my doctor's appointment. When I confronted him about it, he didn't even try to deny it. "Sarah, this isn't working," he said calmly, like he was discussing the weather. "We want different things." "We want different things?" I repeated. "Michael, 2 months ago we were happy. We were planning to try for a baby. The only thing that's changed is your sister's demands." "That's not true," he said, but again he couldn't look at me. "This whole situation has shown me that we have different values about family and sacrifice." "You mean it's shown you that I won't let your sister use my body as an incubator?" Michael's face hardened. "See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You make everything sound so ugly and selfish when Rebecca is just trying to have a family." "At my expense," I said. "Michael, can't you see how manipulative this whole thing is? Your sister created a problem in our marriage where none existed before." But Michael was too far gone. "Rebecca didn't create anything, Sarah. She just helped me see who you really are." The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. Michael's lawyer argued that since my bakery had grown significantly during our marriage, he was entitled to half its value. The bakery I'd started from scratch with my own recipes and my own money was suddenly considered marital property. I had to hire my own lawyer with money I couldn't afford to spend. Linda Martinez was a tough woman in her 50s who'd seen every kind of divorce drama imaginable. "Your husband's being advised by someone who knows exactly how to hurt you," she told me after reviewing Michael's demands. "Going after your business is about more than money, it's about control." "He wants to punish me for not being Rebecca's surrogate," I said. "That's my guess too," Linda agreed. "But we can fight this. The business predates your marriage and you can prove you put in all the work to grow it." The legal battle dragged on for months, during which time I had to keep running my bakery while dealing with the stress of losing my marriage and potentially my livelihood. Michael moved in with Rebecca and David temporarily, which told me everything I needed to know about who was really behind this divorce. The worst part was how his family treated me during the proceedings. Patricia and Frank acted like I was some kind of monster who'd destroyed their family. They spread rumors around town that I was selfish and cruel and that Michael had no choice but to leave me. "Sarah was always cold," I heard Patricia telling someone at the grocery store. "Michael tried so hard to make that marriage work, but she just couldn't put family first." The irony wasn't lost on me that they were saying I couldn't put family first when I was the one who'd chosen to prioritize my marriage over Rebecca's demands. But the truth started coming out during the divorce proceedings when my lawyer subpoenaed Michael's phone records and discovered months of text messages between him and Rebecca planning how to pressure me into surrogacy. The messages were damning. Rebecca had coached Michael on what to say to me, how to make me feel guilty, and even suggested he threatened divorce if I didn't come around. One particularly awful message from Rebecca said, "If Sarah really loved you, she'd do this for us. Make her choose." When Linda presented these messages in court, Michael's lawyer tried to claim they were taken out of context, but the pattern was clear. This had been a coordinated campaign to manipulate me into giving up my bodily autonomy. The judge was not impressed. "Mr. Morrison," she said sternly, "it appears your decision to seek divorce was influenced by a third party's desire to manipulate your wife into a surrogacy arrangement. This court does not look favorably on such tactics." In the end, I kept my bakery and Michael got basically nothing except the debt from his lawyer fees. The judge ruled that since the business was established before our marriage and I could prove I'd done all the work to grow it, Michael had no claim to it. But the victory felt hollow because I'd lost my marriage and discovered that the man I'd loved was capable of betraying me so completely for his sister's benefit. 6 months after the divorce was final, I heard through mutual friends that Rebecca and David had split up. Apparently, the stress of their fertility struggles and the drama they'd caused in my marriage had destroyed their relationship too. Rebecca moved back in with Michael's parents while David moved across the country for a new job. I felt a moment of sympathy for her despite everything until I heard she'd been telling people that I'd ruined her marriage by refusing to help her have a baby. Even in the destruction of her own relationship, Rebecca couldn't take responsibility for her actions. It was still somehow my fault for not giving her what she wanted. Michael tried to reach out to me a few times after the divorce was final, but I had nothing to say to him. He'd made his choice when he decided his sister's wants were more important than his wife's well-being. The last time he called, he actually had the nerve to ask if I'd reconsider the surrogacy now that we were divorced. "Rebecca's still hoping," he said. "And since we're not married anymore, it wouldn't affect our relationship." I hung up on him. A year later, my bakery is thriving and I'm dating someone new. James is a kind man who can't believe anyone would think they have the right to volunteer someone else's body for 9 months. When I told him the whole story, he was outraged on my behalf. "Your ex-husband basically pimped you out to his sister," he said bluntly. "And when you said no, he punished you by trying to take your business." It's nice to be with someone who sees the situation clearly instead of trying to make excuses for inexcusable behavior. I heard recently that Rebecca finally did have a baby through a professional surrogate that she and her new boyfriend paid for properly. I'm happy for her that she got what she wanted, but I'll never forgive her for the way she tried to get it. Sometimes people ask me if I regret not helping her, and the answer is always no. What Rebecca and Michael did to me taught me that some people will sacrifice anyone and anything to get what they want, including family members who are supposed to love and protect you. I learned that saying no to unreasonable demands isn't selfish, it's self-preservation, and that anyone who punishes you for setting boundaries was never really on your side to begin with. My body, my choice, and my business, my rules. And any family that can't respect those basic principles isn't really family at all.